Okay. So in my 17 years of cybersecurity experience, I realized that the equation for the motivation of cyber criminals is quite simple. There is one very simple equation. You take the amount of devices that those guys can infect, can hijack in a single campaign, and you multiply it by the amount of time that they can stay undetected and active within that campaign. And basically what you get is the result, how much money they can make, how many dollars, where those days they actually prefer bitcoins, right? So with that, with the fact that 2017 was sort of an inflection point in the cyber threat and in the ecosystem, it's quite interesting to evaluate this equation with our top-of-mind threat, the ransomware, and mobile malware. So how many of you have heard about WannaCry? I think everybody needs to raise their hands. Otherwise, I don't know. WannaCry infected about 300,000 endpoints, right, at the peak. Whereas when we look on the mobile malware campaigns like Gooligan, Judy, Hummingbird, it's all infections in the millions, right? Millions of infections. For example, Copycat, that our research team identified and discovered in June, it was an ad fraud malware infected over 14 million of devices. So basically 35 times more than WannaCry. Now, let's go for the second parameter, which is the duration, right? So when you look at the duration that mobile malware campaign go undetected, it's usually over a year. Whereas ransomware, like WannaCry and Petya, they were stopped within days. And now you can probably guess, what's the result of the equation. So whereas with WannaCry, the hackers were able to make $300,000 worth of Bitcoin, because you are able to track the sort of the wallets, the Bitcoin wallets of the hackers. With Copycat, the hackers were able to make $16 million for the duration of the campaign. Pretty much 11.5 more than the guys behind WannaCry. Now, this is quite, I think, interesting observation, and actually an observation that falls into, at least what I believe, the fifth generation issues, where the cyber criminals are actually moving into the pockets of least resistance and high profitability. And in order to understand how we, as an industry and as professionals, letting it happen, I would like to run with you a very short exercise. So in this exercise, I'm going to show you a video. In that video are going to be two teams, a team in white and a team in black. They're going to passing balls within the teams. And I need you guys to count how many passes the white team makes. Okay, how many passes among themselves of the basketball the white team makes.
This is an awareness test. How many passes does the team in white make?
Go!
Count to 10. Okay, gentlemen over there. 11, 14, 13. Someone 13? Good. Well, the thing is that the answer actually doesn't matter. The thing is, how many of you have seen the moonwalking bear at the background? How many? I think like 7%, probably the people who have the protection for their mobile devices. So let's watch it again, and I'll show you the moonwalking bear. Okay, you see the bear entering from the right, and now he's moonwalking like Michael Jackson. And so really, the fact that we are sort of very occupied with our third generation, fourth generation protection, and we are not actually investing or basically unable to see the issues of the fifth generation, like mobile devices, translate to the following figure, which is quite unpleasant figure. When we deployed our SandBlast mobile solution, actually the customers that deployed the SandBlast mobile solution across all their employees in their enterprises, what we discovered that 100% of the customers were already infected with mobile malware. And the average was actually 54 malware per customer, which is quite a significant number. And you might ask yourself, what's the implications, right? So it's just like an employee's phone. Maybe it's insignificant. The risk is very low. And in order to emphasize how important it is, I would like to tell you a recent story. It doesn't have happy ending. So how many of you have heard about the Lazarus Group? There are a few people in the audience who have heard about them. So the Lazarus Group is probably one of the most famous cyber hacking teams those days. It's the North Korean, or allegedly the North Korean hackers that breached Sony, that breached the SWIFT banking system, and the guys that are responsible for WannaCry, allegedly. And those superstars, like everybody else in 2017, became obsessed about Bitcoin. Now, whereas other hackers are basically stealing one Bitcoin over here, one Bitcoin over there, those guys, as I said earlier, those are superstars. When you read the reports about what those guys are doing, it's like Ocean 11. So, ladies and gentlemen, especially ladies, this is Brad Pitt and George Clooney with a hoodie, okay? Those guys. So when those guys decided to steal Bitcoins, they didn't go after the normal people. They went after the equivalent of the Federal Reserve, after the cryptocurrency exchanges, and specifically about the South Korean exchanges, because those guys basically were holding over $1 billion in cryptocurrency. And cryptocurrency exchange is a super profitable business and a super secure business because security is in the top of their mind. So in order to actually breach them, they had to go through multiple layers of defense. And the most important layer of defense, or maybe like the last layer of defense that they had, is actually a two-factor authentication on the mobile devices of the IT employees that were supposed to prevent access to the IT systems. Now, what those guys did, they fished them with a fake mobile application that infected the mobile device and basically was able to bypass and to hijack the two-factor authentication and allow the hacker access to the IT systems. The result was a complete devastation. So Ubit, the #1 exchange in South Korea, lost $100 million equivalent in Bitcoins, 70% of the funds of the over $500 million that they had, and went completely bankrupt, right? So this is like the catastrophic story, and it all happens because of it. So what's the actual scenario, how those things happened, and I would like to show you a quick demo. Imagine that your employees are traveling to Barcelona, they're going to a conference, they're at the airport. They want to connect to the Wi-Fi, right? They want to have read emails, call their wife, and basically they get this SMS message telling them, hey, you have a free Wi-Fi access, click on this link, install this profile, and they basically click on it. Straightforward social engineering, basically capturing them in those moments that you don't really notice what you're doing. You got off of the airplane, and they install this profile. What this profile actually allows the hackers to do is a full man-in-the-middle attack on the phone, and now they can leverage a vulnerability that exists for a few years in iOS called Sidestepper that allows the hackers to install a malware on their phone. So this malware actually looks like just a typical conference application, but in a matter of fact, it is a malware. Now, my good friend Tomer, he's behind the stage, like most hackers, and he's actually going to hack this phone. This is the command and control. He's going to initiate an attack on this phone. Now, like every live demo, we need to hope that it's going to work. Okay, so the first email arrived, and this email actually contains all the personal information that I have on my phone, starting from contacts, which you see over here, the location, so basically it triggers the GPS of the phone, and details about the phone and my calendar records. Now imagine the hackers have my calendar record. They have my calendar records. They know when I have my important meeting, when I'm discussing strategy. What they can actually do is activate the microphone. Tomer just did that, and he recorded our conversation over here. Not that we were discussing anything confidential, but for the sake of the demonstration, he will now open the recording. Now, like every live demo, we need to hope that it's going to work. This time it worked. Okay, so the first email arrived, and this email actually contains all the personal information that I have on my phone, starting from contact. Okay, so you got the idea. Anyway, in order to basically help you guys to avoid or to actually see the moonwalking bear, we have introduced our SandBlast Mobile solution that is basically the leading solution for threat defense to protect organizations against advanced cyber attacks on the mobile devices of their employees. And to actually explain to you guys how it works in practice, I would like to welcome our very good friend, Pedro Pablo Perez, who is the Senior Vice President of Global Security at Telefonica and the CEO of 11path Telefonica Cybersecurity Unit. Please welcome Pedro Pablo. Morning.
Morning. Hello.
Pleasure having you here.
Thank you.
So, Pedro Pablo, I have a couple of questions. First of all, as one of the top cybersecurity executives in Europe, what's your view about the overall mobile cyber risk?
Okay. So it's as you know, we have been working together with Checkpoint, and one of the vision that we have in Telefonica is that we are really aligned with the 5th generation. What we have today is that we see that the attack surface is growing like crazy. So we have bring your own device, we have more and more servers that are going to the cloud. At the same time, hyperconnectivity is here. So we have, nowadays in the world, we have more than 8 billion devices. So there are more devices than people. And with 5G that we are deploying in Spain and also in many countries, this is going to be, massive. Okay, so, and of course, the attack sophistication is going to grow during the next years because we see this trend during the last, 5 years. So it's, I think that the surface and the problem that we need to solve is, even more complicated than ever.
Excellent. And so, as a large organization that is clearly extremely secure and security is your top of mind, what's your strategy internally to mitigate this threat?
So we have been analyzing this, since about 3 years ago, and we are embracing, of course, the model of prevent, detect, respond. So it's having, the full cycle. And it's good to say that as one of the previous, people that were, introducing here is this is about the full cycle because a lot of companies are now totally mad about puring people to respond. But okay, don't forget to prevent. So it's prepare, prevent. It's important, and you need to balance, all these investments. So for this reason, we one of the first projects that we started with Checkpoint is protecting the environment of the VIP people with this, message, and ensuring that we had the SandBlast technology on the mobile phones on all the VIP people that we have in Telefonica.
That's and how is it going so far?
So it's going pretty well, but the thing is that nowadays when we analyze, in the network and, all the stuff, that more than 2% of the, Android devices are infected worldwide. So it's the ecosystem is complicated, and so it's a good, that we have, mechanisms to prevent, to protect, to detect, to respond. But I think there is a hard time, and a good time also at the same working in cybersecurity today.
Yeah, that's true. And so what do you think, like, the opportunity for the, for yourself as a telco, for other telcos, and clearly for the security partners that some of them are in the audience, in order to helping prevent, the next significant mobile malware breach?
So one of the things that we see as a telco, that we are in a privileged position. So it's we can secure, in the home. So we are protecting, the home routers. We can protect, in the network, the mobile ecosystem, and of course we can install, software on the devices. So it's we think that we are in the perfect position of providing this security in an holistic way. And we are partnering with integrators, we are partnering with technology companies. So at the end, I think that we don't need to forget that this is everything about understanding this cycle, and everything about that security's holistic view. So you need to ensure that if you have, 3, 4, 5 enforcement points, let's use all of them.
Yeah. And, in terms of clearly Telefonica, you're the CEO of a pretty big cyber, security division. What's the unique sort of value proposition in this space for Telefonica? So
we really think that what we need to provide in cybersecurity is that we need to provide easier access to this technology. So I think during the last year we have been complicated this too much. So it's what we are doing is, okay, let's provide the basic services that are everything related to managed services. So it's NDM or similar, kind of products, ensuring that we can wipe a device, we can, manage the device. At the same time, we can provide, some security services that are the easiest one. So it's the type of, the typical thing of protecting, malware, protecting, communications. And of course, we need, this third layer of, we are working, as you know, with Checkpoint on SandBlast, and we have been, we see, during the last years, all these sophisticated attacks, and we put on the top, all these barriers to, to prevent all these complex new attacks that are, today, and we will see in the future that it will come more and more.
Yeah, definitely agree. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for coming. Hey, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. And the last slide. Thanks.